We'll start with you, Nitinji, that you have been working with the government, and you have worked at various levels, at the district level and also at the state government level, and you have worked across departments. So, how has how have you seen evolution of digital payments in the government to citizen, government to business, or government to government evolving in the last decade, like last 10 years?
Um, Thank you so much, Raviji. Thank you, Krishna, for a very nice introduction. When I joined, in fact, let me just tell you about my educational background. I am an engineer. I've done my MBA from AM Bangalore. After that, I was working as an investment banker, and then I decided to come to this side. So having seen things on the other side, I realized that there is a whole perspective change that comes in when we are implementing things in remote areas of say Podi, where I started earlier, and Almora, where I was district magistrate. So these are small dots on the map, which you've seen probably, and some people are not even aware of. But there are actual people sitting over there, and who will probably be decades back, in terms of their awareness level, in terms of financial inclusion when we are talking about. And when I joined over there, so I was very amazed, about how people in the district headquarters did not even have bank accounts, how they were using savings, in very different formats. And there were traditional saving instruments. Nobody was accessing the banks. So our first target, when we joined, initially we used to hold these financial literacy campaigns, financial literacy, jahan pe hum unko jaakar we would tell them about what a bank account is and how would it benefit people out there. So we used to trek for 10 to 15 kilometers, hold Janta Darbar kind of a scenario over there, and there would be a specific financial literacy campaign that would be carried out. And when I see it over here, a decade later, I see everybody's aware about it. First thing is the awareness level has improved a lot. A lot of bank accounts have also been opened post the JDY, Jan Dhan Yojana, which we talk about. I think there has been at least the access of banks to the last mile connectivity that we talk about. The last mile has been reached. We have a lot of rural branches, which are not making profits, but which are there for a particular social reason, not for profit per se. So we see a lot of people who were unbanked having the access to banking facilities, but yet in terms of penetration, in terms of penetration where we have reached a certain optimum level, in terms of instruments that could be used to that could be provided to them, say in terms of credit instruments, in terms of loan access, or in terms of using the net banking transaction. I think there is some sort of skepticism, and that skepticism arises also from what word of mouth, sort of what we hear. And the WhatsApp, we always see these messages, itne rupees chori ho gaye, some sort of that background to it. So we see, somebody has lost some 20,000 rupees because he gave his password to somebody, and there has been a constant decline in the number of transactions that are being made through the ATM. People have actually gone back to keeping their savings in the form of traditional instruments again. So I feel cybersecurity is a challenge that I see in terms of the access of new instruments that could be made. Secondly is of course the access of new instruments that I talked about, which should be made so that people are made more entrepreneurial. And if I could talk about my take away from the rural India, then I would really want to see what happens in one table. Say suppose there is an entrepreneur sitting on the front table, the back table, the other tables would also want to do the same thing. So you just have to create 5 or 6 entrepreneurs in the village, and you'll find the whole village following suit.
Requesting Nitin to talk about you are working with government sector. So how does government sector engage with the banking ecosystem? What are the ways of like collaborations? Because like a lot of bankers who are sitting here, and they would be interested that how they can be part of various initiatives of the government, and there are various IT the solution providers who are sitting here, so they would be interested also to know about it.
I think very critically, the banking sector is overburdened, if specifically the government banks that I have interacted with. They already have their own targets to reach, and when the government tells them, do this, do that, so they are very, reluctant to do that. Okay?
Yes.
So, it's always this because they have their own work. It is not the primary work for them. It is something which has been added on to their responsibilities. So, I think to a certain extent, there is a little reluctance, which is understandable. But I think once we always have to overcome this initial resistance, and once we I think overcome this initial resistance, we see fantastic results coming in from all the banks. So we in the districts we have somebody known as a lead bank manager. There's a lead bank and there's a lead bank manager. The lead bank manager basically coordinates all the activities at the district level or with all the banks and the district administration. So the banks have to do the yeoman service, if I could say, in terms of offering bank accounts to the unbanked. First of all, they were involved in doing that. All the bank accounts of several million million accounts were open, and I think they did a great job with that. Secondly, in terms of the subsidy component, now the government has a lot of schemes which have a certain subsidy component and certain loan component attached to it. Now, if I look at it, I could divide government schemes into pure subsidy. Now, pure subsidy scheme would basically involve something like PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, wherein in the beneficiary account rupees 2,000 is credited for a particular quarter. So the banking sector here is involved only in that transaction, in verification of the accounts, creation of the accounts wherever the accounts are not there, and the verification of the accounts if the accounts are there, whether the proper beneficiary has been identified, and then henceforth the transfer of the money also takes in from the banking sector. So that is their involvement. Secondly, they are involved in a subsidy cum loaning component scheme. In those schemes, I think, critically, I think bankers also need to evaluate the credit score. And very often the beneficiaries who are selected, there might be political reasons for it or somebody, who's come in, who doesn't have a credit rating score. So getting a good credit rating score in a rural area or in a semi-urban sort of area is a challenge. Now, if we look at it, if we have that normal curve over here, so, people who are actually looking for subsidies, who are actually looking for, help from the government are small farmers or small entrepreneurs, small projects, somebody who's trying to set up a small health group or some sort of tailoring business or a beautician's shop. So they are the ones who are in access, in terms of for whom we are trying to create who we are trying to create as beneficiaries to the whole schemes over here, and that is where we feel that we need to push in, we need to give in those loans to those beneficiaries. But on the banking side, they are skeptical because they don't have credit score, and how to reconcile that, I think that becomes a clear challenge over here. So then we have to find somebody to back them, somebody from the rural say village pradhan, gram pradhan, or some political dignitary from that particular place can take up and act as a guarantor for a particular beneficiary. So there are various ways to I think overcome that challenge, and that is where the banking and the administrative system needs to work very closely in tandem with each other. So we try and identify, we try and go to these different villages, get the beneficiary, try and identify where the lacuna is and how can that lacuna be overcome. But then there will be certain cases wherein that lacuna cannot be overcome, and then we have to look at the track record of beneficiary and see if that track record is not good enough. Then we have to say that we cannot give that particular loan or we cannot give that particular subsidy to you. So these are the two, ways. to operate.
Fantastic, Nitin ji.